Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and today we celebrate our Independence Day, one of the greatest lines in movie history, one of the greatest speeches of movie history, one of the greatest battle speeches, I guess you could say, in movie history. Yes, you have Braveheart. Yeah, you have Patton. And you have all those good battle speeches, to get the troops riled up. But nothing, in my humble opinion, riled up troops or just average, ordinary people than Bill Pullman's speech in Independence Day. That speech was just epic, man. And Bill Pullman's delivery of that speech, man, I would run through a wall for Bill Pullman if he was the president in real time. Because, judging by how America is right now, I would gladly take Bill Pullman as my president as opposed to this clown. But we are 30 years removed. 30 years from Independence Day dropping in theaters in 1996, and man, it's amazing how time flies and how quick you get old. Because I remember going to the theater to go see that. I remember it vividly because this was the first time that I went to a midnight screening. And they didn't do that back then. They did it, but not often, But to my knowledge, that was the first time that a movie opened up at midnight. And I wanted to be there. The first screen. I needed to be there. That first, at the first drop of the frame in a theater. I wanted to be the first. Because you really can't start on July the 3rd, 1996, when this movie premiered. You got to go back to the Super Bowl of that year. I think it was the Cowboys and the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. They were in the Super Bowl. Cowboys won that Super Bowl, by the way. And I think that was the last time the Cowboys had won a Super Bowl, if memory serves. But that's besides the point. They had a commercial. And, that's 50% of the reason why you watch the Super Bowl is for the commercials and for the ads, not the ads, but the trailers. You want to see what's coming. And this is before the era of YouTube and all this other good stuff. So if a trailer dropped on TV or during a program or at the theater, you paid attention to it. It wasn't so accessible as it is now due to the internet. So when this trailer dropped, and like I said, the internet wasn't around, so nobody knew what was going on. All you saw was the White House, right? And they were showing these little shots of the White House. And then you see this ship over the top of it. And this was a 30-second ad. This wasn't a full-length trailer. It was just a 30-second ad. And suddenly you see a beam come from the bottom of this spaceship, hit the White House, and it explodes. And then you see a flat Independence Day, July 1st or July 3rd. And that was it. After that, I didn't care who won the game. I hate the Cowboys. So it didn't even matter that they won that game, because all I could think about was Independence Day. And we had to wait, 6 months? 6 months to partake in what we just witnessed. Just that 30 seconds of the White House blowing up. I know now with movies and TV shows, it's par for the course. You see monuments being blown up and stuff like that. But there were certain lines you didn't cross in film prior to 1996. So when you saw the White House explode, it was like, What? Then when more promotional material started coming out throughout the year, you see the Empire State Building do the same thing. It explodes. You see, what is it, the Chrysler Building or whatever it was, that explode. It was just madness, man. It was like these historical monuments are being destroyed by these aliens, and you see the destruction that is laying waste. You see people running through the streets with cars flipping and all this other stuff. It was pure pandemonium, and it was no way that I was not gonna go see this movie. I love disaster films. I love disaster films. This goes back to the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno and Earthquake with Charleston Heston. I love those type of films because it's real world stuff happening. That's like a horror movie adjacent, because these are things that could happen. You could get trapped in a building while it's on fire. You could be on a cruise ship and it flips over, it capsizes. So stuff like that could happen in real life. So it's more of a horror movie than a disaster movie. Now, with that being said, I know what you're thinking. Well, is aliens going to come down? I don't know. Will they? I mean, do you believe in aliens? Do you think aliens exist or not? Hey, I don't know. This is a big universe out there. So I don't know. And it's not like they're going to all come down here and be like E.T. I would imagine if if an alien race come to Earth and just look, especially now, and depending on where they land at, they probably will look around and say, we need to rid the universe of this species. And you can't even get mad at them because you understand. But we are horrible. Human beings are horrible. I mean, be real, man. And if you catch offense to that, just think, I'm a human being too. And so I'm talking about myself as well. Human beings are horrible. So in my little warped mind, yeah, if an alien species come to Earth and look around, yeah, they probably would want to annihilate us because, man, we're too destructive. Actually, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. You know why they wouldn't? Because we're doing a pretty good job of destroying ourselves. Why waste the bullets? Why waste the laser, the photon, or whatever they have? Why waste it? We're doing a very, very good job of eliminating ourselves. But that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is 30 years ago, man, there was a time when big names on posters sold movies. And that was before 1996. Before 1996, if you slapped Arnold Schwarzenegger's name on a poster, you're going to see it. It didn't matter what the movie was or what it was about. If you slapped Harrison Ford's name on a poster, you were going to see it. It didn't matter what the movie was about. All that changed in 1996. Independence Day changed Hollywood forever, in my humble opinion. It really did. If it wasn't for Independence Day, we wouldn't be getting all of these special effects heavy films like we are getting today. And the crazy part about it, the real crazy part about it, a lot of the visual effects in Independence Day wasn't really digital. Like some of the most exciting visual effects shots were in camera. With the White House blowing up, they actually blew up a White House. Granted, not the one on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., obviously, but they built a 5-foot model of an exact replica of the White House and blew it up. That's how they achieved that effect. When you see the fire going through the city after they being the aliens unleash their little master weapon and annihilate a city, that actually was in camera. They built models of the city, tilted the model set so the fire can go up it, because fire goes up, fireballs go up. It's called gravity, people. And so how do you achieve that shot? Well, they build a model and tilt it. so the fire can go up like it was racing through the streets, and filmed it that way. Very innovative how they made these visual effect shots and things like that. Of course, they had digital shots. The alien ships, the dog fights with the jets and the alien spacecrafts and stuff like that. Of course, all that was digital, but for the most part, all that it was practical. And I'm a huge fan of practical because it looks better. To be honest, to in comparisons now, look at, and I'll just stay in this quote unquote franchise. You look at Independence Day from 1996 and Independence Day Resurgence, which is god awful. One of the worst movies I ever saw in my life. But that was all digital. That was all CGI. And it looked horrible. How did the movie from 1996 look better than the sequel? There's your answer. It was the visual effects. It was the CGI. It just didn't feel real, And that's the thing. That's what's missing in a lot of movies today. It doesn't feel real, and you can't connect to the story. You can't connect to the characters. You can't connect when you see our heroes taking a punch or falling off a building and stuff like that. That's why a lot of people respond to John Wick, because John Wick gets hit. That's not digital Keanu Reeves running around there. He's really doing all this stuff. So it's you can connect to it. Just to stay with Keanu Reeves, think back to the Matrix, the first Matrix film. You felt Neo. You felt the pain. You felt the dread from the agents because Neo was getting hit. He was getting punched and he was bleeding. You could see the pain in his eyes. And you fast forward to Reloaded, the sequel, where he kept his sunglasses on the whole time. You couldn't really connect with him, and he didn't bleed. He didn't get tired. He was virtually Superman in that movie, and it just got worse from there. So it's just subtle little things you do in filmmaking, and I'm saying that from somebody on the outside looking in. But that's the reality of it. You do little things like that so the audience can connect to it and enjoy it more. And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed Independence Day so much, because of the practical effects and how it felt like a lived-in world, a real world. It felt like New York was just devastated by these alien creatures. And so, Independence Day from 1996. This film was directed by Roman Emmerich, and Roman Emmerich is an interesting filmmaker. He made some bangers in the 90s. The Universal Soldier, Stargate, Independence Day, and to a lesser degree Godzilla. But, Godzilla had serious issues. And if you know the backstory of the making of Godzilla, you kind of understand his stance on it. He really didn't want to make the movie. But they threw all that money at him, so coming off the success of this film, and so he went ahead and made it. But it wasn't a passion thing for him. He really wasn't into it. But that's no excuse. You don't put that on your resume. It was horrible. But he makes some fun, popcorn, entertaining films, and Independence Day is that pure popcorn, crowd-pleasing, entertaining movie. You go there simply, and sitting in that theater, it was simply to be entertained. And he assembled an all-star cast that was there just for that. Will Smith in his first big blockbuster role. He had did Bad Boys before this, and a couple other small little films, but nothing as big as this. This is what announced Will Smith as a box office draw, because he went on a run after this. He basically owned Independence Day weekend, or 4th of July weekend, I should say. He owned it after this. Every movie he put out, Men in Black and Enemy of the State, Wild Wild West. Well, not so much Wild Wild West, but Men in Black 2, Bad Boys 2, I Robot, and he just went on a run, during this era, right after this. But here's the intriguing part about that: the studio, 20th Century Fox at the time, did not want Will Smith in that role. They felt a black man could not be a star of a big summer blockbuster because at that time there weren't any. They didn't have it. They and don't be fooled. They still feel that way to this day. No black man can or black actress can lead a big budget movie. Don't be fooled by the Will Smiths of them all because look how he fell off. The Denzel Washingtons and the Mahershala Ali's of it all. They don't draw money like that. And so that in their mind, they can't hold down a film. They can't carry a film like that. And Will Smith at the time, he was still Fresh Prince. He was still doing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on TV. He was a TV star. So putting him in the lead role of this big budget summer blockbuster film, nah, they weren't feeling. But Roman Emmerich, for his credit, fought for Will Smith. He fought to him to the point where he wasn't going to do the movie unless Will Smith was hired for the role. And the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah, they caved. Will Smith got the role, and voila, you got Big Willie. Until he decided to slap Chris Rock. But that's neither here nor there. Starring alongside Will Smith, you had Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, Vivica A. Fox popped up in this thing. Randy Quaid before he went completely insane. It was a whole hodgepodge of talent. Nobody was the same. There was no carbon copies in this cast. Everybody had their own thing. Judd Hutch was in this film. He played Jeff Goldblum's dad. That was cool. It was just a whole diverse cast, and they all fit their roles perfectly. It was perfectly cast. And in case you don't know, you've been living under a rock for 30 years. Independence Day focuses on a desperate group of people who converge in the Nevada desert in the aftermath of a worldwide attack by a powerful interterrestrial race. With the other people of the world, they launch a counterattack on July 4th, Independence Day in the United States. This comes right after Roman Emmerich and his producing partner at the time, Dean Devlin, they had made Stargate, and Stargate was a very successful film, and studios were, vying for their services, and they had came up with this idea, this screenplay for Independence Day. I think every studio was bidding for it. 20th Century Fox won the bid, and man, we got one of the biggest blockbusters in history. This movie, I would say, is not perfect by no stretch. I mean, let's be real. It's not a perfect movie, but what it is perfect at is entertaining you. I know I used that word ad nauseum already, but it is the perfect entertainment that you can get in a theater. Going to that midnight screening, July the 3rd, 1996, and it was jam packed in there. And being in there, me, a friend of mine, Mike, shout out to Mike, if he listens. I haven't talked to him in years. I don't even know if he know I have a podcast. But in the event, if he is, what's happening, Mike? But going there with him, and we were sitting in there, and this was like the first communal experience I've had in a movie, and probably the biggest. I do recall, going to Marvel movies, and it's real. You get the feel, everybody it's excited and cry when everybody else cry, laugh when everybody else laugh, and all these good things like that. But this was the first time I sat there in the excitement. I mean, before the movie even started, the excitement was there. The feel, like, everybody knew this movie was going to slap. Everybody knew that this was going to be one of the best experiences of their lives, going to a movie theater. And from the opening shot on to the end, it was just a rip roaring good time, And I went back to see that movie in the theater. I want to say, I'm gonna just round it off at 5 in the theater. I could be off, but it was around that. I went back multiple times to see Independence Day because I have never felt like that before. I was searching for, it was like a high. It was like a drug. I was searching for that high, I didn't get that same high I got that opening night, but I still got a high. But this film, this is what I miss about movies today. I miss how movies take their time and set up a story and set up the characters and trust the audience to just go along with it, to suspend disbelief when it's necessary and accept whatever, because this is the movie that we signed up for, that you paid your money to see. Just accept that, and here we go. We're not trying to win any Academy Awards. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to throw out there a social commentary or nothing like that. We are just here to entertain you. And that's what this film solely went out to do. Within the first 10 to 15 minutes of this film, you knew everybody's story. You knew Will Smith's story, his backstory, where he stands, what he's going through. You knew Jeff Goldblum's story and what he's going through. His father, Will Smith's girlfriend, who was played by Vivica A. Fox, her story. The fact that she got a kid and she's a stripper. And but he's this naval pilot and he's trying to advance, but you're dating a stripper, but with a son, who plays a big part in the sequel, but we're not talking about that. But anywho's, you're not going to get nowhere if you marry a stripper. All this backstory is there. All the while, people, the aliens are approaching, and they're just slowly approaching. It's not a zip that they're in here, or where did they pop up from? Is a secret, like E.T. or something like that, where he just here and nobody knows that he made it. Everybody knew they were coming, at least government wise. They knew this thing was coming, and they came and they just sat here for a minute. They hovered around for a minute. They didn't just come here and guns a-blazing and just started annihilating human beings, They sat around, let it simmer, and then pounced on them. It was cool to see the setup of all our main characters, where they are, what they do, how they're going to be essential to the story, and all the while they're setting up the characters, the aliens are setting up their chess pieces around the Earth. And when the chaos starts, it was just pure insanity. The way Roman Emmerich filmed this and shot this attack, this invasion of Earth, was just like nothing I ever seen before. Yeah, I've seen it since. It's been imitated, not duplicated, but imitated, however the expression go. But it was new for me then. It was something different then, and it was so chaotic. It wasn't a moment to breathe. The second they blew up the, I think it was the Empire State Building first. I could be off, but it was it was on and popping. It was pure chaos. And then we finally get to that shot that was actually in the movie. Because it was so often you get these little promotional trailers for movies where they show you something, but it's just for the promotion. Whereas we didn't get that here. They actually blew up the White House. That was a real shot that they used in the movie. The only difference from the trailer that we got at the Super Bowl and what we got in the movie, there's a helicopter that flew in front of it and it exploded as well. That made me mad. I was mad from when I watched it back in 1996 because it blocked half of the White House. That shot, it felt like it ruined the shot putting that helicopter in there. But I get why the shot is there. I get why the helicopter is there, but I wanted to see the White House blow up in all of its glory at the time. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it was on from there. And then, okay, we get the fight back. Okay, we're gonna fight back. This is when Will Smith and Harry Connick Jr. plays his friend here. Shout out 504 boy. He was in here as a naval pilot as well. So they launch an attack on the aliens, and then we find out that wait, we can't do anything to get. They got these shields up. They're trying to blow up the ship. They can't. Nothing they're doing is working. Nothing. And for the first time, I sat in the theater watching a movie, wondering how on God's green earth are the good guys going to win? There's no way we can win. There's nothing you can do. What can you do against this? This is impossible. Now they found out a way. Believable? No. It was completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Coming up with a virus to plant in the mothership, which is off-world, and it'll affect the rest of the ships and all this other stuff. Completely ridiculous. But hey, like I said, they asked you to suspend disbelief, so I had no other choice but to suspend it and just roll with it because it was no other option. It was no other way human beings were going to come out victorious in this fight for mankind. It was innovative also and fun. The fact that Area 51 was a major part of this film. And back in the 90s, mid 90s, early 90s, and beyond that, before that, I should say, or prior to that, if I can get my proper English together, Area 51 was shrouded in mystery. Still is now to a degree, but not like it was back then, because it's so secretive. Why the government hiding something there? Or they conducting tests on aliens? Or is the Roswell ship still there, or was it a weather balloon and not, and all this other crap? So you have all this mystery surrounding it, and you have a film, this big budget summer tentpole film that is set in this location. Now, just a little backstory on that. The production had to do a lot of digital planes, right? The jet planes. That's why those were digital, because initially they weren't going to be. They actually were going to have real fighter jets that they borrowed from the United States government and whatnot. And the government was on board with doing it. They actually was going to allow them to do this because they read the script, thought it was exciting, fun, might gain some interest for people to join the military and all this other good stuff. Just like they do with Top Gun and, Pearl Harbor and, those military type movies. But they had a stipulation. The stipulation was that they had to take out the Area 51 stuff. If you take out the Area 51 stuff in the screenplay, we will allow you to use the jets. Well, we see the end result of that decision. They got no help from the government as far as using their equipment and whatnot, and many toys at their disposal. And so they had to spend the money, pony up the money, to do the digital, not ships, but fighter jets. Anywho's, cool. The fact that you had Spicer in there, Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation, a part of this just made it a little more authentic to me, you know. And he playing this little hippie guy, of course he's a hippie because he's been stuck in this Area 51 for years, studying this spaceship that happens to be one of the ships from this invasion, this same alien race, and that's why they're here. And that was unique and cool as well. That leads me to the speech that I've already gushed over, I already drooled about here. Words cannot express how uproaring that speech was, because I'm not a speech guy. And I say that in the sense, I'm not a guy that is moved by speeches in movies like that. I think they're good. If they're acted well, I acknowledge that. Like, oh man, that was really cool. That was he put his soul in that. That's about as far as my excitement goes when it comes to movie speeches and battle speeches. That doesn't do anything for me. And it's still to this day, I still am not moved by speeches like that. Every now and then it may catch me in the feels, but nothing like Bill Pullman's speech. Bill Pullman's speech as the president, rowing up these American fighters, because they weren't military men mostly. They had a few, they were all wiped out. But you got sharecroppers and, people that just know how to fly, randomly know how to fly, where you randomly have all of these fighter jets as well. But once again, we're suspending disbelief. And so he's rousing them up because they don't know what to do. They're not military men. They're not fighters like that, And that speech, it was so subtle. And Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman has one gear as far as, and I'm not talking about his acting ability. I love Bill Pullman. He is awesome. Awesome. And very, very diverse. He can play drama, comedy, whatever. He is really, really, really good. Love his son. His son is like picking up the mantle from him. But anyways, his tone, the way he speaks, that's what I'm talking about. And it's so comforting. But the power he had behind those words, in that comforting voice that he has, it just resonated, bruh. And it's still to this day. I think it's one of the most quoted movie speeches in history. Because you can say that speech anywhere, everywhere, in any situation, and it will get you riled up, man. I'm not super patriotic like that. Actually, I'm not patriotic like that at all. But I would say that speech, that speech would make you patriotic. Man, that is awesome. That was an awesome speech. And the fight they put up to save their planet, to save their humanity, was just a climactic joy. And the joy that we got at the end of this movie, it was just purely fun. Now, the problems I had with it was a couple of moments that I mentioned earlier, with you want to make me believe that random people can fly fighter jets and defeat this alien race. No. That is silly beyond silly. One scene in particular, I'm gonna point this scene out, and I'm not, because I really don't have many negatives. There's a lot of negatives, but I don't care enough to to really harp on them, because that's not what this movie is for. But there's one thing that sticks out, and it stuck out to me 30 years ago, and it still sticks out to me today. When in the beginning, when Will Smith and Vivica A. Fox, they're at home, and Will Smith has to go out because there's aliens. So he has to go back to the base and regroup with his unit and whatnot. Vivica A. Fox got to go to work. She's a stripper now. Got to go to work. And so she goes and she works at a strip club during the day. Now, this is the thing. This is why it only bothers me. Because I don't know. I'm not a strip club guy. During the day, that's kind of it just bugged me. It bugged me back in 1996, and it still bugs me today. Now, if there are any strippers out there listening, or exotic dancers, I'm sorry. If there are any out there listening, welcome to the show, by the way. I'm glad you're here. Let me know. Do you work during the day? I didn't know they worked during the day. It just doesn't. It never made sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me now. I don't know why that sticks out to me in this movie as the one big flaw, and it could not be a flaw. I could get corrected, but it bothered me. It really bothered me. Aside from that, nothing else really bothered me. There was the knocking out of the alien by Will Smith. Now, it's supposed to be a rah-rah cool moment that he punched the alien and knocked him out, but we later learned in the movie that he's wearing this suit. So he really just punched the suit. And the way the suit is designed, is no way you can knock him out because the suit is like super, super, super thick. Either Will Smith has the strength of Samson, or they didn't think that through. And I mean, knocked him out for hours from one punch. I don't know. Look, whatever. It bothered me, but I get it was a rah-rah moment. The welcome to Earth moment. Anyways, Independence Day is one of my favorite popcorn movies of all time, and I categorize it like that because I know the movie's not perfect. Everybody with a set of eyes know the movie is not perfect, but it is perfectly entertaining. That's why I give Independence Day from 1996 a letter grade of an A. It is so fun to watch. It never gets old to me. I'm about to watch it now. I'm gonna go back and watch it again. I didn't want to watch it before I did this because I would have been glowing too much, because every time I watch it, it's just a certain glow and happiness I get about that movie, and it distorts my way of thinking. So I didn't want to do that this time, but it's so exciting. It still holds up to this day. Today also marks the 10th anniversary of its sequel, Independence Day Resurgence. Now, if you think I'm gonna do a review on that, you got another thing coming. I'm not doing it. I watched that movie one time, and I couldn't get. Actually, I'm lying. I just realized I never finished that movie. I have never finished Independence Day Resurgence. I got halfway through and I just couldn't take it. I didn't go to the theater to see it because I was I just had a feeling it was bad. It just looked bad, and Will Smith didn't come back and all this here. I just knew it wasn't going to be good, and I was right. Everybody pretty much told me I was right, so I waited till it came on television, and when I watched it, I turned the channel. I changed the channel. I couldn't do it. I always told myself I'm going to sit down and watch. I might do that this year. I might. I feel like I want to be tortured for a little while. So I might sit down and try to get through one sitting of Independence Day Resurgence. But I will definitely be watching the one that started it all, Independence Day from 1996. I want to know, were you around in 1996, and did you go to the Uh, Maybe you weren't dumb like me and stayed up and watched it opening night and didn't get home till close to 3 o'clock. I would love to know if you have the same feeling and joy that I experienced from watching that movie 30 years ago today. Let me know on our website, thekbradionetwork.com. You can also look us up on YouTube, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Independence Day. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.